And welcome back. The Kingdom of Lesotho and the United States of America have signed a second compact of the Millennium Challenge Compact, the 4 Billion Maluti 5-year compact, will focus mainly on 3 carefully selected interventions. They're aimed at rapidly increasing investment, economic growth and employment.
Under the theme Reducing Poverty Through Economic Growth, the United States is committing to the tune of more than 5 billion Maluti for the second compact of the Millennium Challenge Compact.
This $300 million compact that we have signed today comprises 3 carefully selected interventions aimed to rapidly increase investment, economic growth, and employment in our country.
The Prime Minister says that these compacts have already made visible strides.
I would like to convey through you to President Biden and the people of the United States that through the instrumentation of these compacts, Lesotho today is a much more equal society.
This compact aims to increase jobs for high-growth companies, investment facilitation, and access to finance, particularly for women entrepreneurs.
AGOA trade preferences have built a thriving textile industry here, with more than $300 million in goods exported to the United States. Lesotho ranks 3rd on the continent in AGOA export volumes. Our USAID mission has an active program that promotes greater regional trade, opening new markets to Lesotho products. The U.S. is committed to building market-based opportunities in Lesotho through AGOA experts, through new regional markets, and support mechanisms from this new MCC compact.
At the outset of this partnership, we know one thing for certain. We want this compact to succeed, and we know we cannot do that if we leave half of the population behind. We have to prioritize the empowerment of women. Women need food security for themselves and their families, job opportunities, better medical care, and legal protections to ensure they have an equal opportunity to thrive.
The Millennium Challenge Compact aims to create at least 90,000 job opportunities for young people during the first 5 to 6 years of its implementation phase. Rapelang Radebe, SABC News, Lesotho.
So we speak a little bit more about this to Lesotho correspondent Rapelang Radebe. Rapelang, a very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us. Perhaps a bit of background, take us back to 2004, how this aid project, as it were, was established and the reasons for it.
Absolutely, it's a long-term relationship, really. United States and Lesotho have had one of the longest ties, because I think since 1966, when Lesotho gained independence, the United States were immediately there, and they have been on the ground through other interventions. We will know that PEPFAR, which really helped in reducing the HIV and AIDS interventions, in health issues, related issues, they have been there. But I think what really came to fore was the Millennium Challenge account, which was one of the biggest, I think, compacts that came to Lesotho. It was able to help renovate clinics, even building new clinics. It was also trying to reduce the distances that mostly the vulnerable groups, women and children, take time to travel to get to the nearest facilities. You would understand that Lesotho being a mountainous region, people would walk long distances, some carrying dead loved ones. It was not possible, but bringing these health centers closer to the communities has helped really. I think we have seen a large development in long lifespan of many people. But I think with this new compact, having seen the success of what the previous one was able to do, they are now trying to come up with sustainable measures like bringing women into business, making more funds accessible to them. And I think also still looking at the legal systems that protects the vulnerable groups, such as women, equality in justice, and really bringing equal access even to the justice system. This is what the new compact is trying to bring. I think it's also trying to tap into other resources. Lesotho slipped from being the first in the continent when it comes to textile, but it has now slipped down to the third. But it has really been taking advantage of the AGOA opportunities that the United States provide. I think it's trying to open more corridors such that entrepreneurs can really come to fore, have access to funds, but have a plain level field of which they can play.
You know, Rapelang, before we go to sector-specific progress and development, there was a time when Lesotho's U.S. ambassador to Lesotho said that Lesotho is in danger of losing the compact because it was pointing to, you spoke about vulnerable groups earlier on, reports on human trafficking, and also talking about police brutality and failure to implement multi-sector reforms. Just for us to get a sense of the progress that has been made, how did Lesotho address this?
Absolutely, you are absolutely right. It's a journey that has taken close to 4 to 5 years now, simply because the United States was still not very happy with certain aspects. Lesotho has recently been named the murder capital of the world. The police brutality had been at its highest. But I think one would applaud the interventions like SADC coming in with the reforms. It has brought a bit of stability. We still have the big problems when it comes to how women are killed, the brutality, the human trafficking. There are still those pockets of which Lesotho really needs to work hard. But I think when it comes to levels of corruption relatively reducing, not as rampant, as blatant as before, there has been good signs of a tide that is turning. I think that is what has convinced the US to sort of reconsider and ultimately come to sign Lesotho. But otherwise, at the same time, you would end up losing the gains that you have made trying to correct. Because one of the biggest problems I think that comes with this fund is that if corruption is not addressed and arrested, then all the gains are lost. People tend to use it to lure for political gains. They campaign with it such that this benefits only goes to those that may support their cause. But when the playing field is level, all Basotho tend to gain. Also, I think with SADC being relatively stronger, we have seen a government completing its full term, a 5-year term. Remember, it's not long ago when Lesotho went to elections like twice in one period. We've seen 2 army commanders brutally killed by their junior officers. The level of post-political conflict, especially post-elections conflicts, they have been just appalling. But we have really seen now, you see the military really staying in the barracks, taking care of business of protecting the country. I would not really say I'm as convinced when it comes to the police, but you can at least see the shift that is beginning to happen, especially as elections are about to come. This is where we see a lot of hostilities come into play, people just disappearing like flies. But I think these are steps that are worth commending.
Okay. So you mentioned the textile industry. How has Lesotho used that particular sector for the benefit of Basotho at large, and which others have been instrumental in the reduction of poverty and improving the lot of Basotho, just with regards to employment and economic development?
Absolutely, yes. So, the textile industry has been one of the industries that is able to immediately absorb and consume huge numbers, mostly of the most vulnerable, talking about women. And I think Lesotho has been doing. The problem or the challenge with it, I think, it is when it comes to skills transfer and ownership. We still see very little, next to none. It does not really exist when you see ownership, where these women cannot just be workers in the factories, but they can become shareholders. They can actually own the trade that they are in. There has been pockets of one or two men that come to own these factories, but really I think the gap comes when they do not own anything, and they are just like tools that they are just passed off the line. When I need proper words to describe it, but it's not sustainable until we can empower them to own the trade, to be able to be in command. I think we can now start to see COVID has actually taken all those gains backwards. We've seen them close down in huge numbers. But I think this is what also the compact is trying to address, that it is now looking at horticulture, close to 2,000 square meters, that is about to be utilized to now look at the growing of apples, we have some of the most fertile land, and to diversify agriculture in areas on the northern side of the districts where there is lots of water. So it should now be taking advantage in how it actually puts those compacts to come to their benefits. Another problem also is that some of these funds, as soon as the time expires, where the duration of the contract, there is no maintenance plan. We have seen places that had good drinking potable water, but you go back to them, those people don't know a drop of water. So it's like you are building this side, but as things collapse, there is no plan to actually maintain those beautiful clinics that are there, or those pipes that has been lined up. There's no real plan on how they will be maintained. So Lesotho is a very small country, and this kind of compact should really turn its economy around. We're talking close to 400, 500 households, 400,000 households. And I think it's a very small, most of them are all in South Africa, by the way, and in the diaspora across the world. So these are the good initiatives, but I think if not well implemented or have a plan to maintain them, they can actually not go that far in eradicating poverty.